Hi everyone, this is Dr. Nitin Chhoda with Ignition Time and welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for being a viewer. Thank you so much for being a subscriber. I want you to know that you are greatly appreciated. I provided you all the breaking news alerts about what's been going on with the stimulus negotiations, what the impact is for unemployment benefits, and I'm going to continue to provide you important information pertaining to the country, pertaining to the economy, and pertaining to your money. Now, I received a lot of comments from our viewers and subscribers asking about the senators who voted against the stimulus package. There were seven individuals who voted against the stimulus package. One of them was a Democrat, Tulsi Gabbard. But there were six Republican senators who did indeed vote against the stimulus package. Now, before I talk to you about who these six senators are and what was their rationale, I want you to understand that I'm trying to give you some information here. I'm a citizen journalist. For me, it's not about the red or the blue, it's about the red, white, and blue. I'm not Democrat, I'm not Republican, I'm American. The Ignition Time channel is intended to give you specific information about the country, about the economy, and about your money. So, with that being said, let's just jump right in and talk about the senators and why they said no to this $900 billion stimulus package and what their specific concerns are. There are always two sides to every story. I'll give you the information. I'll let you be the judge. Let's just jump right in. So these are the senators who said no to the package. Senator Marsha Blackburn from Tennessee, Senator Ted Cruz from Texas, Senator Ron Johnson from Wisconsin, Senator Mike Lee from Utah, Senator Rand Paul from Kentucky, and Senator Rick Scott from Florida. These are the senators who said no. They were firmly against a $900 billion package, which again has been bundled into a $1.4 trillion government spending package, which passed, and both these, the $900 billion and the $1.4 trillion, passed the House and the Senate and is going to be signed by the President into law at the time I'm recording this video. And their criticisms were largely focused on how big the package was, how much money was involved, and they also said that hey, it's close to 6,000 pages, and they hadn't had time to go through everything. So this is what Senator Rand Paul from Kentucky said. I'm going to quote him. I'm going to quote what he said on the Senate floor. To so-called conservatives who are quick to identify the socialism of Democrats, if you vote for this spending monstrosity, you are no better. When you vote to pass out free money, you lose your soul and you abandon forever any semblance of moral or fiscal integrity. That is what Senator Paul said, and he suggested instead that lawmakers should open the economy, cut obvious waste in the budget, and stop piling on debt for future generations. So those are comments from Senator Rand Paul. In fact, let's take a look at what Senator Rand Paul from Kentucky said on the floor of the Senate yesterday. It was a very strong speech. It was a very emotional speech from him. And I do want us to listen, and I want you to be the judge for yourself. Now, listen, I want our viewers and subscribers to know that I understand if many of you don't agree with this. But the goal of the Ignition Time channel is to focus on the country, is to focus on the economy, and to focus on your money. I want you to listen carefully to what Rand Paul says, and let's have a healthy debate. Let's have a healthy debate in the comment section below. You'll also find a link to this entire clip, this entire speech from Senator Rand Paul, which, by the way, ironically comes from Senator Rand Paul's YouTube channel. So we'll provide you with a link to this video in the description section below. But Senator Paul says this monstrous spending bill is everything that Republicans don't believe in. He said, free money for everyone, they cry. He spoke against this spending bill very passionately. And keep in mind, he's one of the few holdouts, if you will, who voted against it. So, you'll get the entire list in this video, as you know. But let's listen to what Senator Rand Paul had to say in this first segment of three segments, if you will, of his extremely passionate speech on the floor of the Senate in the past 24 hours. Let's roll the tape.
Republicans like to mock modern monetary theory, the idea that government can print money with impunity, that government can spend whatever it wants without the need to tax. Modern monetary theory is basically the Dick Cheney deficits don't matter crowd, trussed up with a new fancy title. Most Republicans rightly lampoon this quackery, that is, when they're not practicing the quackery themselves. Today, many of these same Republicans will vote for a bill that makes modern monetary theory look like child's play in comparison. The monster spending bill presented today is not just a deficits don't matter disaster, it is everything Republicans say they don't believe in. This bill is free money for everyone. Proponents don't care if you're fully employed or own your own house or own your own business. Free money for everyone, they cry. And yet, if free money were the answer, if money really grew on trees, why not give more free money? Why not give it out all the time? Why stop at $600 a person? Why not $1,000? Why not $2,000? Maybe these new free money Republicans should join the Everybody Gets a Guaranteed Income caucus. Why not $20,000 a year for everybody? Why not $30,000? If we can print up money with impunity, why not do it? The Treasury can just keep printing the money. That is, until someone points out that the emperor has no clothes and that the dollar no longer has value. To so-called conservatives who are quick to identify the socialism of Democrats, if you vote for this spending monstrosity, you are no better. When you vote to pass out free money, you lose your soul and you abandon forever any semblance of moral or fiscal integrity. So the next time you see Republicans in high moral dudgeon claiming and complaining about spending of Democrats and socialism, remind them if they supported this monstrous bill that really the difference between the parties is less Adam Smith versus Marx and more Marx versus Engels. How bad is our fiscal situation? Well, the federal government brought in $3.3 trillion last year and spent $6.6 trillion. The deficit last year, a record-busting $3.3 trillion. If you're looking for more COVID bailout money, we don't have any. The coffers are bare. We have no rainy day fund. We have no savings account. Congress has spent all the money long ago. The economic damage from this pandemic is not the reason for this runaway spending. This spending's been going on for decades. Every year, even before we get to all the extra COVID-free money, we've been spending $1 trillion we don't have. Today's money is gone. So Congress is spending tomorrow's money. The spending chart is a red line of red ink that goes on forever. When we talk about spending tomorrow's money, it's not just the money that we need next month, it's the money we might need in a decade. It's the money we will need in 1, 2, 3 generations from now. For national defense, for infrastructure. This is the money that your children and your grandchildren will pay back with interest. The deficit doubling and tripling. Under George Bush, it went from $5 trillion to $10 trillion. Under President Obama, it went from 10 to 20 trillion. We're now at 27 trillion, but we're adding it at $1 trillion a year before we get to this COVID budget-busting bailout.
Extremely passionate comments from Senator Rand Paul from Kentucky. Again, whether you agree or disagree, that's your decision. I want to know in the comment section below what you think. Let's engage in a healthy debate. Now, in the next section, Senator Rand Paul pointed out some actual numbers and the significant discrepancies that exist. Some places can be open. For example, restaurants have been forced to shut down, but big box stores, big box retailers are open. He pointed out that every single American taxpayer is $136,000 in debt. Yep, $136,000 in debt. We are $27 trillion in debt, and the numbers are just mind-boggling. You can sense him raising the alarm bells in a very passionate manner. Let's roll the tape and look at the second segment with Senator Rand Paul expressing his concerns with passing this massive stimulus package. Let's roll the tape and see some strong comments from Senator Rand Paul as he gets even more passionate during his speech. Let's watch.
Every tax-paying American already owes over $136,000, and they're staring at projections into the future that show no end. We are $27 trillion in debt today. How do we expect a child to have the economic opportunity when this crushing debt is their inheritance from Congress? The numbers are mind-boggling. It's hard to conceive of what $1 billion is, much less $1 trillion. How big is $1 billion? Well, 1 billion seconds ago was 1988, and Reagan was president. 1 billion minutes ago, Jesus walked the shore of the Sea of Galilee. 1 billion hours ago, man still lived in caves. But $1 billion ago was just 80 minutes ago. $1 billion ago, at the rate Congress spends money, was just 80 minutes ago. All of this should be setting off alarm bells. But the only alarm bells in Congress are sounding the alarm for more spending and more debt. No cuts, no offsets, no pay-fors, no prioritization. Just print up more money and give it out to everybody because it's free money, come and get yours. Well, the getting's good, but it leads to a mountain of debt. Spend all this money and leave the future to figure itself out. John Maynard Keynes was once asked, what about the long run? He said, in the short run, you can make a stimulus, you can print money, and you can give it to everybody. And Maynard Keynes, his response was, in the long run, we'll all be dead. No concern for the future, only for the immediate. Our budget deficit for 2020 was $3.3 trillion, but this new spending package will also give us another $2 trillion in the next fiscal year. By refusing to acknowledge the debt crisis, we are only hastening the day of economic reckoning. Total debt was 55% of GDP just 20 years ago. Today, it's 128% of GDP. So our total debt is more than our GDP, 128% of our GDP. The World Bank estimates there's a tipping point of debt to GDP at about 77%. Every percentage point costs another tenth or so of economic growth. So every year we're giving up somewhere between 5 to 8% of growth every year because of this burden of debt. This is thousands of jobs every year, tens of thousands of jobs that we lose because of this burden of debt. We are borrowing and worsening this debt crisis in part because too many governors and mayors have imposed heavy-handed restrictions that crush business. It isn't the pandemic that's killing the economy, it's the government's overzealous response that is killing the economy. The pandemic itself was disrupted, but Congress is being asked to help perpetuate these lockdowns. The more money we give to the states, the more they keep us in lockdown. Every bailout dollar printed and passed out to the governors only allows these tin-pot dictators to perpetuate the lockdowns. Their rules are arbitrary and unscientific. Governors and mayors across the country are picking winners and losers. Businesses, some that have been in families for generations, are being wiped out because they're not allowed to open. Restaurants have to close their doors for indoor dining, but then they're told they can open at limited capacity. But then they are told they have to close again. And then they're told they can open outside, and then they're told they can't open outside. Confusing, doesn't even explain the half of it.
Now, in the third segment, Senator Rand Paul continues making a case for the fact that this is haphazard, this is not done in an organized way, and this will have serious financial, serious economic consequences for future generations. You already heard him say that. He's concerned about future generations, and he said adding more debt is a mistake. It's not a solution, and we should resist it. Let me know again whether you agree or disagree with Senator Rand Paul's comments in the comment section below. Again, you'll find a link to the entire segment in the description section below.
Bars are told that they can only serve alcohol if people are sitting and not standing, and only if they have heavy foods on their menus. Restaurants are told they can serve outdoors, then they have their permission revoked after they've sunk time and money converting their restaurant to outdoor services. But a caterer is told they can still serve outside. Businesses are told they have to close at an arbitrary time determined by government officials as though the virus only comes out late at night. A business in one zip code can open, but one in an adjoining zip code across the street has to close, as if the virus can't cross an imaginary line. Airlines are allowed to fly, but hotels have to limit their occupancy, so you may not have anywhere to stay when you get there. Mom and pop stores and specialty stores are forced to close, but big box store competitors are allowed to stay open. How is any business expected to survive with this kind of arbitrary regulation that changes from day to day? Meanwhile, many schools remain closed, despite overwhelming evidence showing kids can learn safely in person, which means parents can't go to work, which forces parents to leave their jobs and take care of homebound kids. Now, they have no income because the government forced them to leave their jobs to take care of their kids, and many kids are struggling with this improvised virtual school. The need for help is real. I hear it every day from Kentuckians and across the country. But it's clear that government has worsened the economic damage and acted as the biggest obstacle to economic recovery. There is no free money that can get us out of this situation. The only thing that can save us is to open the economy. If we give these tin pot dictators, these governors, more money, they're less likely to open the economy. The answer is not printing up and distributing free money. It's opening the economy. We're not even debating the real answer to this. We're like, just print up the money and shovel it out the door. The deficit be damned. The threat of the destruction of our currency be damned. We can choose to let our economies open with guidance and precautions, but not obstruction. Let people rebuild their livelihoods. Reopen our schools so our kids can return and parents can go back to work. Congress should do away with automatic spending increases and scrutinize where in the budget we can find savings to pay for the pressing needs arising from the pandemic. But we shouldn't simply print up money and pass it out to everyone. Or Congress can follow the status quo. Congress can continue to borrow from our kids, the same children we've locked out of our schools. Congress can keep enabling and shutting down businesses by force, spend all of today's money and all of tomorrow's money, and then good luck. Good luck figuring out how to pay for all of this massive debt. It doesn't have to be this way. There is another alternative that won't be debated, and that alternative is open the economy. It's not too late to change our course. Cut unnecessary spending, eliminate waste, stop fighting a $50 billion a year war in Afghanistan that hasn't had a military mission in at least a decade. Make the hard decisions now. We can't keep pretending that more debt is a sustainable policy course. Leadership is not passing on the problem to someone who can't protest. Leadership is making the hard choices now. This is what we have to do. I will oppose this new debt, and I will continue to sound the alarm until we change our course. Our country can be saved. We can survive this if we pull together, but adding more debt is a mistake. It is not the solution, and we should resist it. Thank you, Mr. President.
Now, let's move on from Senator Rand Paul and take a look at some other senators who expressed concerns about this $900 billion spending package. Now, let's take a look at what Senator Rick Scott said, and Rick Scott from Florida. And he said that it was extremely expensive, it was largely unnecessary, and he said there will be consequences for taxpayers. This is what Senator Scott said. Once again, in classic Washington style, vital programs are attached to a massive omnibus spending bill that mortgages our kids' and grandkids' futures. This is what he said in a tweet. Therefore, I can't support this bill. You'll see this tweet on your screen from Senator Scott, and he said, we must help Americans and small businesses in need, but we cannot keep operating this way. And his entire position, his statement is on your screen right now. He said, Washington is broken. That is what Senator Scott said. So it was a rather lengthy statement in which Senator Scott was unhappy. He lamented the fact that, I quote, Washington doesn't seem to understand how that new spending today will be paid for by increased federal debt and result in a tax increase on families down the road. And he said that his position is consistent with the history of opposing enormous and wasteful bills. And he said the easy route is simply to go along as Congress continues to do harm to future generations of Americans, but I will not be a part of it. Now let's take a look at Senator Marsha Blackburn from Tennessee. She said that the legislation would achieve a lot of positive things. She did acknowledge that, including the development and the distribution of vaccines, assistance to schools, and help for small businesses. But she said it was too expensive. And this is what Senator Blackburn said. I'm quoting her. I cannot support nearly $2.4 trillion in spending that will make recovery even harder. That is what she said in a statement. I have serious concerns with provisions buried in the 5,593 page bill. By the way, in case you want to read the 5,593 page bill, there it is on your screen right now. The entire bill is 5,593 pages. Let's scroll through the entire bill right now. Let's scroll through it super fast. If you're a speed reader, go ahead and read the 5,593 page bill and leave a comment below and let me know what you thought of the summary of the bill. So, as you can see, we're still scrolling through the bill because it is a rather large bill, as as Senator Blackburn said. And so she continues, I have serious concerns with provisions in the 5,593 page bill, such as expanded visas, Pell Grants for prisoners, and households with illegal aliens receiving economic impact payments. For these reasons, I voted no on passage of this legislation. From Senator Marsha Blackburn. This is from Senator Ron Johnson from Wisconsin. He said he was glad a government shutdown was avoided and that financial relief will finally reach many who truly need it. But he said that he was opposed to the legislation due to, I quote, the dysfunction in the process. The dysfunction of Washington, D.C. was on full display as Congress combined COVID relief with a massive omnibus spending bill 3 months past the deadline and into the current fiscal year. This monstrosity was 5,593 pages long and passed only 9 hours after the Senate first saw it. And he warned that since they didn't have enough time to examine this lengthy bill, again, 5,593 pages, it could take weeks or months before lawmakers understand everything that went with it. He said, I simply cannot support this dysfunction, so I voted no. Now, he said he supported the CARES Act earlier this year because, in his words, it was necessary at that time to act quickly and massively to prevent an economic meltdown. This time, he said he wanted a more targeted approach, and he said a slimmer bill, if you will, in September would have worked better because it provided $600 billion in relief. And by the way, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez called it hostage taking because Congress just had 6 hours to read a bill that was almost 6,000 pages long. So again, AOC called it hostage taking. And this is what Johnson also said. We do not have an unlimited checking account. We must spend federal dollars, money we are borrowing from future generations, more carefully and place limits on how much we are mortgaging our children's future. Wow. Okay. Now, here's what Senator Ted Cruz from Texas said. He also criticized the legislation. And again, like I said, AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, criticized the concept of having to vote on a large bill without having time to examine it. And Ted Cruz agreed with her. He said it's absurd. This is a quote from him. And by the way, you'll see the tweet from Senator Ted Cruz on your screen right now. It's absurd to have a $2.5 trillion spending bill negotiated in secret and then hours later demand an up or down vote on a bill nobody has time to read. And by the way, he's responding to the tweet from AOC, which you'll see on your screen. Congress is expected to vote on the second largest bill in U.S. history today, and as of about 1 p.m., members don't even have the legislative text on it. This was 24 hours ago, more than 24 hours ago, in a different world, in a different dimension, because things change so quickly. Senator Mike Lee from Utah, he said that it was difficult to read thousands of pages in such a short time. In fact, he posted a video on Twitter to show how long it actually takes to print out. And you'll see this tweet on your screen from Senator Mike Lee, who says this is the spending bill under consideration. Again, this is 24 hours ago, and he said I received it just moments ago, and it will likely will likely be asked to vote on it tonight. It's 5,593 pages long. I know there are some good things in it. I'm equally confident that there are bad things in it. Once again, let me show you the bill on my screen. And this is the 5,593 page bill. Massive bill. Let's continue scrolling through it. And I can stay here and stare at the screen for about 5 minutes while we scroll through a bill that's 5,593 pages. But I'm pretty sure you don't want to see that. So we'll stop that. We'll stop that. And now we'll show you the video of Senator Mike Lee from Utah as he talks about the challenges associated with printing and reviewing the bill. Let's roll the tape and see what Senator Lee had to say.
We're in the process of printing out the spending bill that Congress will be voting on late tonight. We just received it. Now, the bill is 5,593 pages long. I've been in the Senate now for 10 years. This is by far the longest bill that I've ever seen. One of the things that's extraordinary about this one is that because of the length, it is impossible that anyone will have the opportunity to read it between now and the time that we will vote. And I'm absolutely certain that this has been cobbled together by a very small handful of members of Congress and their staffs, to the exclusion of 98% of members of Congress of both political parties in both houses. Interesting thing here is that it took us about 3 minutes just to print out the first 100 pages, which I've got right here. But given the length of it, this is going to take us over 3 hours just to print it out. That's before anyone's even had a chance to read it. I wish I could say that this sort of thing was unusual. The length is. But being asked to vote on something that we have never had the opportunity to even see, much less digest and amend, is unacceptable. Legislation like this needs to be voted on. It needs to be understood at the time it's voted on. Members need to have the chance to not only read it and understand it, but also vet it with their constituents and offer up improvements. We're being told that we'll have none of those opportunities tonight, and I think that's very unfortunate.
Here's what Senator Lee said in the video that you just saw. Because of the length, it is impossible that anyone will have the opportunity to read it between now and the time that we will vote. And I am absolutely certain that this has been cobbled together by a very small handful of members of Congress and their staffs, and to the exclusion of 98% of members of Congress of both political parties in both houses. So after delivering that statement, that video that you saw, Lee noted that it took roughly 3 minutes to print out the first 100 pages of the bill. This is what the senator said. This process by which members of Congress are asked to defer blindly to legislation negotiated entirely in secret by 4 of their colleagues must come to an end. And you'll see this follow-up tweet from Senator Mike Lee on your screen, where he said, here's a really sad thing. We are being told there will be no opportunity to amend or improve it. As a result, nearly every member of Congress, House and Senate, Democrat or Republican, will have been excluded from the process of developing this bill. So let me get this straight, guys. Members of the House and the Senate wait for months, put together something at the last minute, and then there are complaints about the fact that it was put together at the last minute and they didn't have time to review. So make of that what you will. Mike Lee also said this will cost American taxpayers trillions of dollars. This process by which members are asked to defer blindly to legislation negotiated entirely in secret by 4 of their colleagues must come to an end, like I mentioned earlier. So let me know what you think of the opposition from these senators. You saw the opposition. You saw a video from Mike Lee. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. We'll also provide you with a link to the tweets and our original resource in the description section below. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. My name is Dr. Nitin Chhoda with Ignition Time. I want you to know that you are greatly appreciated. If you don't know anything about me, please check out my video. You'll learn more about who I am, what my journey has been like, and why you should listen to me. We release videos at 2 p.m. East Coast time most days of the week. That's 2 p.m. East Coast time most days of the week. So please click like, please subscribe, please enable notifications. You'll get instant alerts from our channel as soon as you click subscribe and enable notifications. Now, if you want to get added to our SMS alerts list, we'll send you important breaking news pertaining to the country, pertaining to the economy, and pertaining to your money. I'm gradually going to now start talking more and more about investing. I'm going to talk more and more about saving money. I'm going to essentially tell you how I managed to live the American dream, because I want you to live the American dream. If you want to get on our list, get your cell phone out, send a text message with the word ignition or with the word time to 70,000, that's 70000. You'll then get added to SMS alerts list. Now keep in mind, you can opt out of the SMS alerts at any point in time that you want. So, we'd welcome you to join our mailing list. You can also, if you want, get on our email list. Simply go to ignitiontime.com/alerts. That's ignitiontime.com/alerts and get added to our email list. And, you can opt out of the SMS list or the email list at any point in time that you want. Keep in mind, the Ignition Time channel is, as you know, about the country. It's about the economy. and it's about your money. So please subscribe and become a member of our community. I want you to know that even though we do cover politics on our channel, because at the end of the day, politics does impact the way our country works. For me, it's not about the red or the blue, it's about the red, white, and blue. I'm not Democrat, I'm not Republican, I'm American first. Matters that affect the country then tend to affect the economy. They tend to affect interest rates, they tend to affect inflation, and all other matters that ultimately dictate where your money goes. In other words, how much money you make, how you invest your money. And our goal is to teach you good, healthy habits for the long term. This is a channel where I don't cover shortcuts. I don't talk about, that stock that's $10 today that could become, $30 a year from now. You're not going to get that on this channel. You're going to get a slow and steady approach towards building long-term wealth that lasts for generations, which is what I've been able to do. So I welcome you to our journey, and hopefully you can become a part of our community. Now, speaking of community, keep in mind that YouTube does not always send out notifications on time. It happens with technology. So all I ask that you do is simply bookmark youtube.com/ignition time. That's youtube.com/ignition time. Simply bookmark our channel, and then you'll be able to visit the home page of our channel. And then at any point in time, you'll be able to check out our videos. You're not dependent on notifications. Speaking of notifications, follow us on Instagram. Our Instagram handle is ignition_time. That's ignition_time. Follow us on Instagram, and then you'll get exclusive news and content from us on Instagram. I also recommend that you follow us on Twitter. Our Twitter handle is also ignition_time. That's ignition_time. Follow us on Twitter. Now, you can actually click the bottom right side corner of your screen and actually click and subscribe with click that button on the bottom right hand corner of the video that you're looking at right now, and simply click that button and you'll become a subscriber. So please click subscribe. Please enable notifications. I would really appreciate that. Please click like. That does help out the YouTube algorithm. The one thing I'm personally very proud of is our fabulous community. I appreciate you all. Our community is intelligent, it's respectful, it's bipartisan. You'll probably make some new friends in our community. So go ahead and comment below. I think you'll get a lot out of it. And finally, please share this video with at least 2 friends or family members. In fact, just 2 friends or family members. You sharing this video with just 2 people will mean a lot to me personally. Thank you so much. I appreciate you all. One last time, please click like, please subscribe, please enable notifications. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next episode of Ignition Time. I appreciate you. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.